there, I'm Jackie Garvin and welcome to Syrup and Biscuits in the Kitchen. Well, today we're going to be cooking with a famous person that I didn't know was a famous person until recently. Her name is Mrs. Henrietta Dull, and I came to know Mrs. Dull through this cookbook, Southern Cooking, that my son Tyler gave me for Christmas a couple of years ago. And I love cookbooks. I read cookbooks like novels. Now I'm telling you, I just love them. And I especially love when I can get my hands on a vintage cookbook. It's so interesting reading this cookbook because not only were the taste preferences much different, this book was written in 1928 by the way, not only were the taste preferences different, the writing style was completely different. Mrs. Dull wasn't real explicit in her directions, and she would just assume that you knew certain things you needed to do, and she didn't want to insult you by writing it down. My granny taught me to cook exactly the same way. I remember my grandmother, I was trying to make a recipe of my grandmother's, and she just had written on the recipe sugar. And I said, "Granny, how much sugar do we need?" And she said, "Sugar, it's just owing to how sweet you want it." Well, Mrs. Dull kind of had the same idea, but it's fun. Now, when Tyler gave me this book, I looked through the recipes and thought it was fun and interesting, and certainly I wanted to make some more recipes, but I didn't read the biography. I didn't read her biography. I didn't read the forwards that were written in here until later. And after I started reading about this, Mrs. Dull must have been anything but dull. She was just an interesting person. She was really a rock star before we knew what rock stars were. She was from Atlanta, Georgia, and she started cooking as a way to support her family. Her husband fell very ill, and that's all that she could do was cook, and that's what she did. So she started catering parties, and then she wound up being the food editor for the Atlanta Journal. The reporter that was assigned to cover that particular part of the newspaper was this lady named Margaret Mitchell. Now, you may have heard this little book Margaret Mitchell wrote. It's called Gone with the Wind. Yeah, that Margaret Mitchell. She covered Mrs. Dull. And as a matter of fact, Mrs. Dull and Margaret Mitchell became very good friends. Now, what we're going to be cooking today from Mrs. Dull's book is a salad dressing, and it's a boiled salad dressing. Boiled dressings used to be very popular, and they've fallen out of favor, and I'm not really sure why. She calls this Eat and Grow Thin dressing. It's really interesting. It's got a lot of dried ingredients, and I'm going to tell you about all the dry ingredients, and then you cook it on the stove. The only fat that it has in it is from egg yolks. It essentially is a thin homemade mayonnaise, and I just love it. I keep it in my refrigerator. I use it not only on salad greens, but use it to make tuna salad, make pimento cheese, anywhere that you would use mayonnaise, I use the salad dressing. And you have to adjust the proportions because this is much thinner than what we know mayonnaise to be today. So I'm going to put Mrs. Dull right here in the right place on my cookbook stand, and I'm going to tell you about this apron. Well, in addition to the cookbook, Tyler also gave me this apron that I'm wearing today. He gave it to me before he gave me the cookbook, so it was several Christmases before he gave me the cookbook. But it says Queen of the Kitchen. Now, a funny story about this apron. I have a little garden, and I harvested a big bowl of greens. So I wanted my husband to come out and take a picture of me, and I happened to be holding this apron, in the garden with my big bowl of greens. So I was holding greens like this, and part of the apron was kind of turned in sort of like this. So in the picture it looked like it says Queen of the something that sounds like kitchen. And I said, "Sam, didn't you notice what you made my apron say?" And he just thought it was kind of funny. So we definitely have to do over that picture because I am Queen of the Kitchen, and I'm proud of it too. Now for the ingredients, this cooking out of this cookbook reminds me so much of 7th grade home economics. You know, that was back when girls took home ec and boys took either shop or woodworking. And you didn't ask any questions about why you couldn't be in the other class. That's just the way things were done. But the way these recipes are written, the types of recipes they are, the different steps that they have you go through, it just reminds me so much of 7th grade home ec. So if you want to be zoomed right back into 7th grade, you get a copy of Mrs. Dull's cookbook and you cook from it. Now this is a multi-step process, but it's worth it because I just love this dressing. Mrs. Dull says the dressing will keep indefinitely in the refrigerator. I don't know so much about that. I don't think I'd keep it indefinitely, but really you will have a lot of uses for it. You're going to use it up. So for the dry ingredients, we've got sugar and flour, cayenne pepper, dry mustard, and flour. And then the recipe also calls for eggs and lemon juice, and outside of that is just water. So we're going to step back over here to the stove, and I'm going to start showing you how to make Mrs. Dull's dressing. Okay, so I've got 4 egg yolks here. I'll separate out the whites, and I'll have myself a nice egg white frittata tomorrow morning for breakfast. So I'm going to mix in half a cup of cold water, whisk that around good. And I've got this on some heat. I'm got it on some heat. So you keep stirring, because you don't want your eggs to coddle. And then mix in all the dry ingredients. Whisk that up well. Just take a little bit of whisking to get this mixed up. And then after it's sufficiently mixed together, you're going to start slowly putting in your boiling water. 2 cups of boiling water. Just keep whisking, whisking. Okay, I want to show you what's down at my feet. If I'm in the kitchen, she is going to be right here under my feet, and that's just fine. I like that. Okay, now everything is sufficiently whisked up, and then we're going to transfer this and make a makeshift double boiler here. I don't have a double boiler. I don't think you need a double boiler particularly. Just make one. And then we're going to add in the lemon juice. And now we're going to keep whisking this until it gets thick. It'll take a couple of minutes for it to get thick. But this dressing just tastes so good. And you know, in this hot weather, and a cold salad just tastes mighty good when it's hot. And this dressing is such a nice alternative to a heavy, creamy dressing, or it's just a nice, different taste from vinaigrettes, which I can just get tired of after a while. You know, I want different things. So I am going to enjoy Mrs. Dull's dressing while the weather is so hot. Now I have been whisking this for about 6 minutes. You don't want it to come to a boil. That's the reason you want to use a double boiler. And I think it's the right consistency. So now what you do is you pour it into a container, and be careful that you don't splatter. I am the queen of splatters, I'll tell you. Be careful you don't splatter. And you can see the consistency. See, I mean, this is the consistency of a creamy salad dressing. The dressing will continue to thicken a little as it cools. Before you put it in the refrigerator, put saran wrap down on the surface of the dressing, not just on the bowl, but on the surface of the dressing to keep a skin from forming. I hope you'll try Mrs. Dull's recipe, and if you do, write me and tell me what you think about it. You can find the written recipe on Syrup and Biscuits on Facebook, along with lots of other good recipes, so please come join us. Well, that's it for us again today. Thank you for watching. I hope Syrup and Biscuits can be a bright spot in your day. Y'all come see us.